Hey everyone. So you've probably heard all the hype about AI taking over the world, right? Well, today we're diving into a question that hits a little closer to home. Can AI actually do therapy? And maybe even replace human therapists? We've got some fascinating insights to unpack from a clip from Dr. K's YouTube channel where he tackles these very questions.
Yeah, Dr. K starts by taking us through a really interesting history of therapy itself.
Right, like picture this. 100 years ago, you walk into a therapist office and it's all, Freud the couch, dimly lit rooms, patients spilling their deepest secrets.
Totally, it was all about the unconscious mind and digging into those hidden desires and dreams, right?
Exactly. But then things started to change. The behaviorists came along and they were like, hold on a second. Maybe it's not all about what's going on in our head. Maybe what people actually do matters more.
Yeah, the behaviorists were all about what you could observe, leading to CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, which focuses on changing those thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Which is so different from psychoanalysis. But here's the crazy thing. Studies started showing they were both surprisingly effective.
Right, it really makes you wonder, what is it about therapy that actually works?
It's a great question.
And that's where this idea of common factors comes in. Dr. K talks about these elements that seem to be present in all successful therapies, regardless of the specific approach.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Well, the most significant one is the therapist-patient relationship, built on trust, empathy, a truly non-judgmental space. It turns out that bond plays a huge role in how well people respond to therapy.
That makes sense, right? To really open up, you need to feel safe and understood.
Absolutely. And that makes you wonder, if that human connection is so vital, could AI ever truly replicate it? It just seems like something would be missing.
Yeah, it feels that way, right?
Yeah.
But then Dr. K brings up this whole other fascinating development, computerized CBT.
Right, because CBT is already pretty structured, almost like a step-by-step program. It was
Hmm.
kind of right for, being adapted into software.
So it's like having a digital therapist in your
Yeah.
pocket.
And get this, studies actually show that in some cases, computerized CBT can be just as effective as traditional therapy.
Whoa, hold on. Didn't we just establish that the human connection is crucial? How can therapy be effective without a human therapist offering that, support and understanding?
I know, right? It's a bit of a paradox.
Definitely.
But that's where Dr. K's idea about the two sides of the therapy coin comes in. He's basically saying therapy isn't just about one thing. It's about providing both knowledge and tools, like those CBT protocols, and fostering a deep, empathetic connection.
Okay, so it's like having a toolbox full of strategies, but also having a supportive friend who can help you use them effectively.
Yeah, exactly. And Dr. K uses a great example to illustrate this, procrastination. CBT is fantastic at breaking down procrastination into manageable steps. Figure out those thoughts and feelings that make you avoid tasks, and then you develop strategies to overcome them.
That makes sense for procrastination, where you need those concrete steps to like change habits. But what about those deeper emotional issues, those feelings that are hard to even put into words? Can a computer program really help with that?
That's where the human element really shines, right? Imagine working on developing self-compassion, a therapist's ability to listen without judgment, to truly empathize. That can be incredibly healing in a way that a computer program simply can't replicate.
It's like the difference between reading a self-help book and having a heart-to-heart with a wise friend. So where does AI fit into all this? Dr. K seemed to believe that AI can deliver CBT effectively, but can it ever replace that human connection?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
And it's fascinating how he brings up this thing about people seeking connection with AI in the form of waifus and virtual girlfriends. Wait,
Yeah.
people are forming relationships with AI.
It might sound a little out there, but waifus are basically these fictional characters, often from anime or video games, that people develop these strong emotional attachments to.
Okay, interesting. So, if people are already turning to AI for companionship, is it really that far-fetched to imagine AI therapists becoming the norm?
It's both exciting and a little unsettling, right?
Sure.
And then Dr. K takes it even further. He asks, if AI can replicate a therapist, could it start replacing human connection in other areas of our lives too?
Oh, wow, like friendships, romantic relationships, even family. Are we talking about a future where our primary relationships are with machines?
It's a possibility that we can't ignore.
Yeah, no kidding.
Which leads to the question Dr. K poses to his viewers. Would you want an AI version of Dr. K?
Ooh, that's a good one. Could AI provide therapy that's accessible and affordable for everyone? Or are there just some lines that we shouldn't cross? It feels like we're at this crossroads where the choices we make now are going to shape the future of human connection in some pretty profound ways. So let's dive into those choices a bit more, shall we?
Yeah, I have to admit, the idea of an AI therapist does raise a lot of questions for me. Like, I get the potential benefits, right? Imagine wider access to care, lower costs, maybe even less stigma around getting help. That could be huge.
Definitely, those are all great points. Like, imagine someone in a really remote area or someone who just can't afford therapy, and AI could really bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And you've got that 24/7 availability too, right?
Mm,
No waiting lists, no having to schedule appointments. Help is right there whenever you need it.
it's true. That's a huge advantage for sure. But I still have this like nagging feeling that something's missing when you remove the human element. Can a machine really get the nuances of human emotions and experiences? That really is the heart of it all, isn't it? Can a machine truly empathize? Offer genuine compassion? Those seem like, well, human qualities.
And what about the ethics of it all? Like outsourcing our emotional well-being to AI.
Hmm.
Does that diminish the value we put on human connection? Could it lead us down this slippery slope where we rely on technology for all our emotional needs?
It's a valid concern for sure. If we start relying on AI for therapy, what's to stop us from turning to it for other kinds of connection? Could we see a future where, like, real life interaction becomes less and less common, less valued?
It's interesting, right? Because AI is already so embedded in our lives.
Mm.
Social media algorithms, virtual assistants, even the recommendations we get, it's all AI in some form. So maybe
Okay.
this is just an extension of that.
That's a really good point. Maybe this is forcing us to confront a much bigger question about the role of technology, especially when it comes to something as personal as our mental and emotional health.
What about Dr. K himself? He seems intrigued by the potential, but also cautious about the limitations. Remember when he asked, would you want an AI version of me? It really makes you stop and think.
It does, doesn't it? On the surface, it sounds great. Everyone has access to Dr. K's knowledge and wisdom like a pocket-sized guru, but then you think, could it really replicate his unique approach? Adapt to each person's needs?
Exactly. And that brings up, I think, the importance of approaching AI therapy, or any AI really, with both like curiosity and caution.
Hmm.
We need to see the potential, but also the limitations.
It's not a yes or no answer, is it? It's more about weighing the benefits and the risks, finding that balance between embracing innovation, but also, protecting what makes us human.
And it's not like we can just shut the door on AI now, right?
Yeah.
It's here to stay, and it's only going to get more and more integrated into our lives. The key is to have a say in how that happens, to make sure it's enhancing our lives, not diminishing them.
That takes us right back to Dr. K's question, doesn't it? Would you want an AI version of him? It's a question that sticks with you. Makes you think about what really matters in connection, in therapy, and even just in life in general.
You know, this whole conversation has really changed how I think about this.
Hmm.
I started out pretty skeptical, but now I see it's not black and white. There's so much to consider.
Definitely complex, nuanced, and yeah, no easy answers. But I think the most important thing is to keep asking the questions, to keep talking about it.
Absolutely. And as we move into this future, a future where AI is going to play a bigger and bigger role, it's more important than ever to have these conversations, to think critically, to be engaged. So for everyone listening out there, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on AI therapy? Do the benefits outweigh the risks? What does it mean for the future of human connection? We want to hear from you.
Yeah, this isn't just about therapy, is it? It makes you think about how AI is like changing everything.
Totally. It's woven into our lives in so many ways.
It's those algorithms on social media, shaping what we see.
It's those virtual assistants, like, we ask them for everything these days.
Even those personalized recommendations, it's like they know us better than we know ourselves sometimes.
I know, right? It makes you wonder, are we becoming too dependent on all this?
Are we like losing sight of real human connection?
It's a tough question,
It is, but it's one we need to keep asking.
especially with technology changing so fast.
I think the biggest thing is technology should serve us, not the other way around, right?
We have a choice in how we use it, how we let it into our lives.
And it's up to us to make sure it's making our lives better, not worse.
So true. Well, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into AI therapy,
We have covered a lot of ground
from the history of therapy.
to how AI might fit in.
And we've asked some pretty big questions along the way.
But the important thing is to keep the conversation going, to keep thinking about these things.
Dr. K's question, would you want an AI version of me?
Hmm.
That really sums it all up.
What matters most in connection, in relationships. That's what it comes down to.
So as we sign off today, we'll leave you with this. The future of connection, it's being written right now.
And we all have a role to play in that. Choose wisely.